welcome to the CollabCast. I'm editor Katie Cusack here with editor David King and Arielle O'Keefe, aka Girl Blue, a singer-songwriter extraordinaire. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
You just released a new music video which premiered on the website. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can we talk a little bit about what went into putting that together and why sort of like the concept of it spoke to you
Yeah, sure.
in that way?
So I had the song Lolita, which was about, for me, growing up. I'm a female, so it's kind of female slanted, the female experience growing up. And I wanted to do a video for it, but I wanted to do it within my budget, which is essentially zero. So that is like the starting point of any kind of creativity, is like, well, what, with limited means, like what can I make? So I was thinking about, well, ideas that could be really inclusive, get a lot of people involved, and be really simple. So I thought about just having a bunch of women sing. That was like where it started. Mm-hmm. It's like, it'd be really awesome to just get a bunch of different women of all ages, young girls, older women, everything in between, and people that I know and that I love and all that, and have them come and sing the song. And then I started to think about what else I could do, and I was thinking about the song and where everything sort of is at today, with a lot of conversation about what it means to be feminine or a woman or human. There's like on both sides. And so I just asked myself what I liked about being a woman, or like what I liked about having grown up being a girl. Because Lolita has a positive ending, but there's a lot of really negative details, and a lot of it is about sort of looking back and seeing like what remains of the child. And so I thought about that, and I realized that everything that I would go to describe my experience growing up as a girl was really negative. It was embarrassment, or being ashamed, or being treated in a way that made me really uncomfortable about my body or about who I am. It was just a lot of struggle, and I thought, like, that can't be it. So I tried to force myself to think. And the question really was, like, is there inherent joy in getting to be a woman, or getting to have the female experience?
Yeah.
Because everything that I was thinking sort of feels like the easy way out, and it is the conversation that's being had. Everything is like, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, because it's that way for a reason. The conversation is, it seems to dwell on the negatives. It seems to almost empower the negatives sometimes.
Yeah.
And that has to be talked about, but I just wanted to see what other women would think about that question when it's turned on you. Like, well, what did you like about getting to be a girl growing up?
Yeah.
Like, or getting to be a woman now, like, what's good about that? And everyone had a really hard time with it. I was kind of surprised, but it was the same experience, same reaction I had when I asked myself. So that's how it sort of started.
Yeah. Were there, I know you had to do like a lot of editing, because there were a lot of people that were interviewed, and a lot of people who were involved in the project.
Yeah.
Were there any sort of like answers to the questions that really surprised you, and you were like, wow, I really wish that it could have stayed in there, but like...
Yeah, totally. I wish everyone's could have been in there. I just had to like keep it under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But there were good answers. Pretty much everyone was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then really had to think about it. But there were good answers about, one was about being allowed to be sensitive and empathetic, being allowed to showcase your emotions and connect with people.
Yeah.
In ways that maybe men traditionally aren't allowed to.
Right.
Being free to explore your emotion and all of that. So those are interesting answers. Being able to be confident enough to be a role model to other women, that was another answer. And we had one woman, Kathleen Woodall. She was the oldest of the women that were there, and she had so much good stuff to say. I had to cut hers down, but she had so much good stuff to say. And she started with, like, she was like, well, I am a woman, so I don't really have anything to compare it to.
Right.
And it was, like, really true. And I figured that if I had asked, I came away with two sort of realizations from the process. One was that if I had asked men the same question about what do you like about having grown up a boy or being a man, I have a feeling there would be the same difficulty, same sort of like, well, I don't know that for sure, but I do think that might be similar. But I asked all the guys who were on the set that day, I had them all sit in front of the camera after and say, what's your favorite thing about women? And they were full of poignant, wonderful things to say about women.
Right.
And I think if I had asked the women, what's your favorite thing about women? It would have been
different.
easy.
Yeah.
I think it's when you turn it on yourself, it makes it really difficult. And it made me really see that it is a human thing to suffer and to have a hard time, struggle. And we don't always connect ourselves with the traits that we put on
right,
our
the
gender
like
or
collective.
whatever. Yeah.
You can like say that as a group, like, oh, they're really cool and super powerful and great, and then it's like, okay, but you're part of the group. How do you like live that every day? And you're like, oh no, it's like hard for people to speak positively about themselves.
It is. That was what I came away with, and I was surprised because I was trying to think about, okay, so how much does the fact that I was a female like color my story or whatever?
Right.
And in a lot of ways it does, but I refuse to accept that it only negatively affected the way that I see the world.
Yeah.
And if it did, then that's on me. Like maybe I need to change my story that I'm telling myself, because that can't be true. If you're kind of only going to see the things that were really hard about your experience, then it all comes back to just kind of being a human and trying. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something like really powerful about watching that video and like those videos, because there is like a trend, like I feel like over the years in terms of like music videos, like that is something that's practiced where it's like, oh, this group of people are going to sing this song. But I feel like watching Lolita was really special because like that song is very much about like these experiences that women have. Like they're little like vignettes, right? So it's like little scenes that it's like, oh yeah, I've definitely been there. Like it's like I've been in that situation, and to have everyone like singing all the words, especially like having like the little girls singing it, and then it's like, oh my God, like
I know.
So it's like I know Nadine posted like a status recently that's like every time I watch this I cry, and it's like, well, yeah, because it's like this very like real story of like every single person is having a very similar, if not the same experience. And it's just like really powerful to watch.
Totally. Yeah. That was the whole thing. And I remember from the start, because I had a lot of different ideas for what I wanted to do with a video. And one of them was just like me and a young girl and sort of me singing it to her, her singing it to me. So I was really like keen on the idea of the audience seeing, or originally I just wanted to have the two young girls who are in the video. It was just going to be them singing the songs. That kind of hurts to see. But that was a big part of it. And then I specifically wanted, Talia Dennis is in it, and I think she's 17, but
it's a process.
Yeah, she's sort of still in that a little bit. And so I got her saying I was 15 and a half. And like, I just wanted to, we are all of us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe not the most articulate way to say it, but yeah, it is emotional. I was more moved by it than I thought I would be too. When I watched it back. Yeah.
What you said about sort of the experience coloring us and all, I just think back to when my wife and I knew we were expecting, and I was just hoping for a girl, because in my mind, a girl is, it was more hopeful to me. She's less aggressive, she wouldn't have to deal with aggression, wouldn't have to deal with a lot of negative traits that I see in men and grew up experiencing. And, also my daughter is not white. So this was during the time where there was a lot of police shootings and things happening, and
that was all like coming straight into the news again. Yeah,
and all the struggles that women are going through, and yet for some reason the hopefulness for me was that she would be a woman, and my wife said to me, "But think about all these negatives that could happen."
Right.
I'm like, but I don't want I don't know. I don't want to have someone who's inherently expected to be aggressive and competitive or violent or whatever it was. So that was my experience, and her experience was, I'd rather have a boy so that she doesn't, he doesn't have to deal with what I went through.
Right.
But
that is interesting.
Just,
You would hope that whatever they are, they don't have to deal with what I had to deal with.
Right, and you both are thinking the same exact thing.
Yes, it's not true. I no, I think I'm all about that too. I'm all about everybody coming together and talking about their experience, because I think a lot of times it's a lot more similar than we want to believe.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm all about the individual too.
Yeah.
As opposed to the large group. I think like we should be speaking as individuals, because that's where our real truth is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like this video has sort of like, I know obviously in your experience, like it sparks those conversations and it starts those discussions, and like has people, like I'm sure that day, like walking away from the set and being like, oh, I should start thinking about this more. Like, or like, oh, well, you're kind of forced to, because you're like, oh, maybe I could have answered the question differently.
Yep.
It's like that thing that always runs through your head after an interview.
Oh, I know. And because I didn't tell them at all what I was going to be talking to them about beforehand. So you got the actual like
surprise.
Like, oh, in the moment, like it's something that you do have to think about. I still don't totally know the answer.
Right.
And I came away from it that day being like, yeah, it's really not so black and white. Like, it's not so easy to think about even. But yeah, it was a very cool experience.
I wonder how this fits in. Katie just did a piece about your Patreon use, and I'm wondering, how does this fit in and your curated personality, you know, your online content and what you provide? Was this something that was born of that, or was this something you probably would have done otherwise? Is it?
I feel like I'm very just like, oh, I have this idea, and of all the ideas I have, whatever one gets made, I'm like, okay, cool. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like you say curated and like, that's wonderful if that comes off that way. But,
well, it just, you know, you're expected to produce so much from that. And so, you know, I just wonder.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think I've had a major shift, and I talked to you about it too, but it's really been like coming home to me that I need to, number one, it is about individuals, and Patreon really does show me that I'm connecting with individual people in a more meaningful way. So as where I was raised, or when I grew up believing like I want to have this huge impact and be a musician, and you don't really think about individuals when you're doing that. You're thinking about yourself, and you're thinking about like the masses. And my experience has very much been like needing to focus more on individual relationships and create smaller things within my means, if that makes any sense. So I guess it is all tied in. It's all kind of from the same ball of wax. Like,
yeah, I mean, I relate to that a lot. I had a mentor who said to me, you know, he was someone who practiced on a smaller scale, but was really good at what he does. Yeah. And he said, you know, look, it's not that I didn't have a choice to work for a major paper or a major outlet. It's that I chose to stay local because that's what mattered to me, and I wanted to have an impact on what mattered to me. Right. And being able to curate your audience and realize what matters in terms of your art or whatever your work does, I think is very important for people who, I think these days there's a lot of, you see people who, I have to have this personality of success, like success is it, and the only way to be successful is fame. Yeah. And a lot of that. And that's not a conversation that I think is healthy, because most people aren't going to be famous.
Well, yeah.
And some people can't handle it. You know, and it's not for you.
You see the means that people go to get famous, and the delusion. And yeah, that's another thing I think about too, because when you want to be a performer or a creative, there's a certain amount of delusion that like has to be there. You can't like lose it entirely. You never. But I've had to. I've had to, as I've gotten older, really get down in there and like play around with what that means, or like what it's going to look like. And I've had to adapt, because anytime I've tried to do something the way that I think it's supposed to be done because of the way that I was raised, or the world that I was raised in, which doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. I've been slapped in the face. I've just gotten screwed. So I keep learning, like kind of the hard way sometimes, to just go ahead and like use what I have and actually understand the world I am in, and try to cultivate these relationships, because the fans are the people that are going to actually lift you up and help you. Anyone else is just trying to make money off of you. So if you and what I always say to people is like, if that's okay with you, then you should be doing that. I can't, like, I do this because I want to write the best songs that I know how to write, and I want to get really good at that, and I want to have integrity. So
yeah, integrity is the word that keeps coming to mind.
Yeah, I would rather, I'm not trying to stay local or anything like that. but I would rather do that if that's the way that's going to keep me doing my best work. Like
Yeah.
that's all I care about. I could give two craps about, having some kind of like larger success.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like, a lot of the ways that the industry is changing in terms of like making music nowadays. Like, there's this sort of like, I don't want to call it machine, but it is. It's this machine of people who are like, oh, well, if you want to make something that's quality, you have to spend the money to be in the studios. You have to spend the money to have like me mix all of your stuff and like make it good. And like, I'll do publicize your stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, this like new generation of artists have realized that we have the means and the network through like online, the internet and like websites and sort of like face to face, just like more gigs to just connect with your audience on your own.
Yeah.
Like you don't really need that, and you can still make quality work on your own or like with a smaller group that actually knows what kind of art you're trying to make.
Right.
And it's just like this disconnect here, and that gap is like growing, and I'm hoping that it grows more every day. It's just like, because it seems like there's more real work happening at this like smaller, closer level than than a big.
Yeah, there will be a gap, and it's money. I mean, like to me, if you either have money or you don't. And so if what I see with the industry, it's like a lot of like, I don't want to speak beyond my expertise here, but it seems like a lot of just like capitalism. Like if you have the money to get ahead and climb all of that, then you get to do those things. If you don't, then you work within what you have. But I don't know. I just don't really care about any of that anymore. I've had to stop caring about it because I just want to make good art. So I try not to put the cart before the horse, and I try to be realistic about what do I have the ability to make, and remove myself from any kind of idea that someone's going to come along and give me something without a catch. Because if anyone is coming in and looking at me, and I guess there's exception to this, but if anyone's coming in and looking, they're just seeing something that could potentially make profit, and that's where they're going to be coming from. So I don't know. Music's hard because it's you're talking about taking advantage of dreamers. You're taking advantage of people who believe in the American dream still, who believe that they can have I can work hard and I can change my situation because I'm following my gift and I'm working hard. And I hope that still exists. I think it can in certain ways, but I think a lot of times you have people who come in and tell and prey on people who still believe in that and try to it kind of got dark for a second.
It always gets dark here for a little while.
It's kind of where I'm at right now.
You go up, it's like a roller coaster. You go right back up, because one thing that's really great about your audience, I'm going to bring us here, is you're getting the direct support from people who love your music and like want to invest in your work, and they're watching the like online concerts that you're putting on the site, and they're like coming to the shows. They want to know where you're going. Like they want to like help you reach more people. And I think that's so much stronger, because it's like that, like you said, that individual connection is like so valuable right now.
Yeah, it's everything. And they want so badly for me to be seen by more people. Right. And I'm like, just give it time. I know, I want that too.
Well, I think that's a general sense in the area too, that if like your name comes up as someone, you're the person that people think is going to succeed and blow up.
Hometown heroes. There's like this like that kind of mentality of like such a big celebration about people who either make it big here or go elsewhere and make it big, but still kind of talk about. But it's just like sort of that like putting us on the map is sort of that like quote I hear a lot of we're gonna be someone, and it's like counting on those hometown heroes to bring us there. I don't know, it's just something like it's been interesting to think about lately.
I mean with the Eddies coming up, I think we're going to hear a lot about that. But
like outward bound artists that sort of still carry the local name.
But I mean looking at some of the stuff that's going on with like 5 Kill Records. They're getting mentioned by folks in Pitchfork. And, I think there is the larger mainstream media, or whatever you want to call it, that's left of it, music journalists are looking towards, and obviously they've always been looking for the scene, but now I think they are looking at more organic stuff because it's what's being supported, and that's the market. Everyone else is tuned into Spotify, and what is being curated for them, and so people are looking to curate things that people aren't going to find otherwise.
Absolutely, and music lovers and want to hear new stuff that isn't safe, that isn't the norm, that's cutting edge, and that's where you're going to find that in like smaller scenes, smaller communities. So that's kind of the other edge of all this, is like if you step away from like somebody has to give me this large sum of money and blah blah blah, and then you look at where you are and the support you have, and like that's what's up. That's you're finding other people in your community, and you're all coming together and inspiring each other to be better and better and better.
Right.
And if all of you can sort of like, it is that way. If somebody gets on the map, then somebody else, they can take all these people with them.
Right.
It's just trying to, I would love to bring more light to this community, because there is a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I've found a bunch of people who are all on the same page. It's like, we really want to do something. We really want to make great stuff, and we do want our stuff to be seen.
Yeah.
And do want to go beyond the local level, but we all live in the same community, and we're friends, and that's how it happens. That's the only way, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's that like balance of quality and quantity as well, where it's like we're working really hard to make something that's really good, but you're also like playing as many shows as possible in the local scene, and like you're also like doing these like online shows for people, and like really like doing as much to put it out there. And I know that's something that we talked about is like kind of like a hard thing to push past as an artist, is like, okay, am I ready? Is this the perfect product to put out yet? But like sort of like contending with your own personal taste on it's that thing again where it's like I'm looking at myself and I can't say that it's good yet, but everybody else is looking at it and being like, give it to us now, like release it now so that we can listen to it.
Exactly. I know.
Like,
I know. Yeah. So
full circle. See what we did here? Exactly. Great.
Good
job.
Good. Yeah. I think that's again the world we live in too. It's like constant content. So you have to, within your own set of beliefs, like contend with that.
Yeah.
And you do have to, and I think that's healthy, because I have such a backlog of songs that people never heard, because I have like full albums from years back that I just never recorded, because just couldn't get the right people together. It just wasn't quite right yet. It didn't come out the way. And like nothing, in my experience, pretty much nothing I've made has come out exactly the way that I wanted it to be. I can't think of maybe a couple things that I've put out and been like, that's it. That's exactly how I wanted it to be, and I'm super happy with it. So you just have to get over yourself and put it out. And what we always say is like, okay, well, if you don't like that, I'm going to make something else maybe like that. And just keep going.
Mix it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know you just played a show 2 nights ago, and then you have a show tonight coming up.
Yeah.
How many shows would you say you play like in a week or a month? Let's do a month.
Let's do a month.
It
depends. I try to do it depends on the month. I try to do a couple a week. So I feel like I end up doing like 10 shows a month or something, but it depends on the month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did a lot last year, and because I play solo, it's so much easier. I'm gonna do a lot more with different versions of bands this year.
Yeah.
But that was such a good thing to do all the shows solo, because I only have to worry about myself. It's like very simple, very easy to commit to, and you can travel a lot farther. So it's been really good. I'm going to be doing more recording this year, so I need to chill out on the shows a little bit. I also just like burnt myself out a little bit, so I'm excited to have different versions of what I do, because I think that'll make it more fun again.
Yeah.
And get some new material recorded so I can really like move into the next phase. So like tonight, I'm gonna have Jimmy Woodall play cajon, and I'll play guitar, and so we'll do that sort of a thing. And then I did something with like a smaller band I think it was like a month ago, and then I think they announced I'm doing Tulip Fest this year, so that'll be with the band. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really excited to explore a lot of different options as far as having other players and all that.
And in terms of like recording, do the shows kind of help you figure out what you want the new stuff to sound like? Like, are you aiming for sticking to more of a solo thing, or are you trying to like explore that band sound a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting because the first EP I did was coming off of like really no shows. So it was that experience of like, okay, we're recording this and then you're going to go see how it lands live.
Yeah.
Or try to emulate the record live. And then I've been, for the past 2 years, I guess, something like that, maybe more, I've just been playing with like, the only recordings really have been Lolita, Dreams I did, and then Patreon stuff. So it's like a very small group of people, which has really been awesome because I've gotten really specific feedback about what works for people and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I also have been playing a lot more acoustic guitar, whereas I was playing a lot of electric. So there's going to be a lot more acoustic on the new album. Like it's going to kind of bridge the gap. It's not going to be, I want a lot more dynamic on the new album.
Yeah.
So it'll have elements of both. I want to really respect what I have as a solo thing, or the intimacy of connecting with people, but still really be able to explore dynamic and production. So I'm doing both. I have a solo album that I recorded that is going to come out, I think, June 1st. And then
very cool.
Yeah, because I wanted to give something to honor that, the solo thing. And then I'm going to be tracking the full album, and then that should come out next year probably.
So
because those things take a lot of time. But
yeah,
I want to do both. I like to have all of that dynamic. So, and I don't want to be stuck doing just one thing. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, got it all going on.
And so, what are the shows coming up tonight? Is Glens Falls, right?
Yeah.
The Park Theater.
Yes.
And then what else? What else is on the schedule? Tulip Fest.
Tulip Fest in May. I'm going to be playing locally. I think I'm playing at Savoy in Albany this month in April, and Superior Merch.
Cool.
So a couple smaller shows, and then Tulip Fest coming up is the big one. I have to check my schedule, but it's all online.
Yep.
Yeah. And, where can people find sort of your stuff to see, oh, their show's coming up, oh, I want to buy their music? And
it's all girlbluemusic.com. So there's a tour little tab there, so you can see the full schedule, and then I'll post on Instagram like when shows are coming up, or that's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today and talking about your illustrious career and hard work.
I can't wait to hear the new stuff, though. It's very exciting.
Awesome.
Glad to know it's
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you guys for supporting me as well.
Oh, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, sure, definitely.